Hi there. So while the popularity of NFTs keeps growing, so does the concern over whether they're safe or not. And now another Turkish artist has fallen victim to NFT thieves.
OpenSea is the most popular NFT marketplace online, but lately it's not so popular with two of its Turkish users. Illustrator Yilmaz Aslantürk is one of them. In a tweet, he announced his account was hacked and he had lost all his money from sales. Just a day before, digital artist Alemşah Öztürk had a similar experience. He said scammers sold all his works and transferred his digital money to a different account. They're on a long list of artists dealing with NFT theft. The art form is rooted in the same blockchain technology as cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin. This new kind of art market exploded in the past 2 years, and ever since, people are getting in line to own a digital asset. Meanwhile, thieves are also getting creative to make the most of the situation. Last month, Aja Trier found out her viral Vincent van Gogh-style paintings had been turned into more than 80,000 NFTs on OpenSea. She believes the platform is similar to the Wild West. For the same reason, comic artist Liam Sharp shut down his DeviantArt gallery. He tweeted, "I can't and shouldn't have to report each one and make a case, which is consistently ignored." Another NFT marketplace seems to have found a solution though. Rarible has cut down on plagiarism by 90% after implementing a human-moderated verification system. Then there's the newly launched Sniffles NFT, an image recognition tool that automatically issues takedown requests for artists. But according to its co-developer Mert Hilmi İşeri, all these are only band-aids to the problem. He told The Verge he hopes to build a reputation system that verifies legitimate users while penalizing scammers, regardless of the marketplace. But then, concept artist RJ Palmer told the website, "I stopped reporting. I want to see if they sell, because then I could prove lost income and damages in a court of law." The thing is, that could only work if he proves a platform is encouraging and profiting from a continued and persistent practice of infringement, according to law professor Tanya Evans. Meanwhile, NFTs keep making headlines in all ways. Latest reports say one Canadian artist has sold art valued at more than $18 million. Good for him, but let's hope he doesn't become a new target for scammers.
Blogger Jasen Bailey, also known as Artnome, joins us now. Now, he's the founder and CEO of clubnft.com, as we can see from your sweatband. I love it. Okay, so first question I have to ask. Your company focuses on tools to protect NFTs. Now, if I were to buy an NFT, which I haven't yet, now how worried should I be how concerned should I be about security and the possibility of it being stolen?
It's actually less about the possibility of it being stolen and more about the concern that your NFT could actually break. So what a lot of people don't realize is when you buy an NFT, it's a piece of code that lives on the blockchain, but that image that you fell in love with or the video by the artist, that almost never lives on the blockchain. It lives on something called IPFS, a separate storage system, and that storage is paid for by the marketplace. So if the marketplace goes out of business, you could get stuck with an NFT that points to nothing, and then you would lose a lot of its value.
So I've read in previous interviews that this is actually something that's happened to you personally. Can we talk about your experience with that? I believe that there are NFTs that you had owned that could be worth millions today.
I'm a little bit of a graybeard, an old-time collector in the NFT space. I started in 2017 and 2018. And at the time, we told everyone, don't worry, all your NFTs are on the blockchain. If the marketplace goes out of business, you'll always have your NFT. But what happened to me, I collected the first several NFTs by an artist named Xcopy, maybe the best known artist in the NFT space. I only spent $5, $10 on these things back then because nobody knew what an NFT was. But now those sell for $6, $7 million. And my earliest ones, because I have the earliest ones, would probably sell for $15, $20 million or so each. But I don't have them because the company that actually started them, a company called Ascribe, that company went out of business, and I can no longer access the tokens, and the images themselves weren't stored via IPFS, and I didn't have local copies anyway. So I don't have the tokens or the images. So that drove me to think about all these different problems and how we can help collectors solve them. Because when it was $5 or $10, not a big deal. When it's $5 or $10 million, I think people have to think about it a little bit more.
So in view of these security flaws or vulnerabilities that you mentioned, what can collectors do to protect themselves, and what can, marketplaces themselves do as well?
Yeah, so there are multiple concerns out there. One of them is people worry that they're going to buy art that's not by the actual artist, because anybody can take an image and put it up and say that they're the artist. So in those cases, just like in traditional art, you still need to do some research. You might want to look at the wallet that art that you're buying came from and see, the thing you can do with NFTs in the blockchain that you couldn't do in the old art world. You can look and see what other transactions came from that wallet. Is this a person that's been around a while? Have they sold to other known collectors? Maybe even reach out to the artist via Twitter. In terms of the problem that I talked about with your image potentially disappearing, what you do is you can use a tool like ours, download all of those off-chain assets, all the images and the metadata and things like that in the exact format that they were originally uploaded. And the way IPFS works, you can always re-upload them as long as you have the exact files and restore that NFT, right? So it's solvable, but people just don't have the tools or the knowledge to necessarily protect themselves yet.
Yeah, it sounds very, very complicated indeed. Now, for the uninitiated, a lot of us are just like, it's just something so new. Do you think the infrastructure is where it should be at for an industry that's just growing so fast?
But the truth is the space grew way too fast. It went from a bunch of nerds like me that kind of knew what they were doing, but even I, based on my story, got a lot of things wrong. For 3 years, it was kind of a bunch of nerds trying to figure out this new technology. And then all of a sudden, it went from a couple $1 million industry to a $40 billion industry, and people weren't asking the right questions. So I think in 2022, we'll see people kind of sober up and start to wonder, what actually did I buy? What is an NFT? How does it work, and how do I protect it? I think NFTs have a brilliant and bright future, but I think we moved too quick, too fast, and we need to put some of that infrastructure in place. So that's where I'm putting my efforts.
So we've been talking a lot about the consumer. Let's look at the artist's perspective. So in our previous package that played earlier, there was a Turkish man, his name is Yilmaz Aslanturk. Now his open source account was hacked and he lost money from NFT sales. So in this situation, like, who do you even go to? There's no NFT police. Where do you go from there?
No, you're right. There is no NFT police. It's a Web3 world, right? In the Web3, there's no helpline. The idea is that we don't want to have to rely on a centralized authority to be in charge of our assets. We want true ownership. So that means you actually have to take responsibility. And yet sometimes people can get hacked, but I have to tell you, I've been in this space for 4 years. I'm one of the most active collectors in the NFT space. If you go back over the span of 4 years, I know a lot of people in the community. I was the first collector on a lot of the platforms. And I don't actually personally know a lot of people that have been hacked or had a lot of problems, right? So just like with any new technology, you have to be smart, because now that there's money coming into this technology, there are bad actors that are going to try to figure out how to, kind of screw people over and take their money or cause problems. And we need to build fast enough that we can stay ahead of that. So again, with the growing pains, it's something we have to worry about. But I caution people to worry, not to over worry. Let's say, like, be careful, play around, buy some NFTs, don't spend more money than you have, support artists, but recognize it is a developing technology.
Okay, with that in mind, we've talked a lot about security. Do you see any other potential problems that you think could cause the NFT bubble to burst?
The NFT bubble will burst, and that's okay, actually. So NFTs are somewhat tied to cryptocurrency, and cryptocurrency has a lot of volatility. So the way I describe it is it's like a bubble gun. It's not one bubble. We're going to see this bubble pop, just like we saw a bubble pop 4 years ago, and then a bigger bubble will come, and then we'll see that pop, and a bigger bubble will come, right? So it's not linear, and I think the smartest thing collectors can do is make sure that they're not investing more than they can afford to lose, whether it's cryptocurrency or NFTs. You need to be able to sort of survive that inherent volatility that will be there until we see a larger or mass adoption.
Another thing that I've read about is also that NFT prices right now are obviously based off demand, how much demand there is for them. Like once the demand drops, when that bubble bursts, what happens then?
Yeah, so there's a few things. First, I would say that even though the bubble pops, we have to remember how hard and technical it is for people to get started collecting NFTs today. So imagine what will happen when this onboarding gets easier. I think we'll see NFTs go up even higher, right? So maybe we'll see a downturn, but they'll go up even higher. So I want to make sure that people don't think that bubble pops, all of this stuff goes away. Now, to your other question, what happens then is the same thing that happens in traditional art world, if we're talking about NFT art. When the economy goes down, I still love my painting, right? It might be hard to find people that want to buy my painting because there's less people with disposable income, but you should buy art because you love art. You shouldn't buy it purely because you think it's going to continue to go up in value, right? Sure, it's an investment, but buy art to support artists that you love and make the assumption that you can't spend more than you could afford to lose, and then just appreciate your art and enjoy your art if the market goes down.
Jasen Bailey, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, like navigating this complex industry that is the digital art market. So thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today. Anita Taylor is known for her portraits of the female figure. While she mostly focuses on the contemporary, she recently recreated inhabitants of an ancient settlement that were alive 10,000 years ago. Ezra explains how it was done.
Anita Taylor has been drawing and painting since the 1980s. She primarily focuses on female identity and their emotions. But recently, she traveled to the oldest known village in central Anatolia. It's called Ashıklıhöyük, an excavation site thousands of years old. And as part of a project to promote the area, art and archaeology came together. Contemporary artists like Taylor, who's from the UK, spent time in the ancient settlement. And she documented her experience through these drawings. She reflected on the psychology and practices of the Ashıklı people, and she calls it the Witness Series.
It's an extraordinary history, and the things that we find on an archaeological site that are human remains. So for me, there's a gravitas and a respect for the bodies that we find.
Another 12 artists produced photographs, sculptures, and installations. And they've turned out an exhibit at the historical Hüsrev Ketudağ Bath in Istanbul. It's called Lines of Sight. In it, they're trying to convey how life evolved in Ashıklıhöyük.
We knew that at that time a very important historical turning points that we witnessed about the Ashıklıhöyük. For instance, the first brain surgery, and then some important developments as human being about animals and the plants. That the domestication of animals and plants.
They're able to know what happened through excavations during the past 30 years. So then, why do the organizers need to promote the place? Why does Hollywood make movies about Troy but passed over Ashıklıhöyük?
Typically, as let's say art lovers or archaeology lovers, etc., so we can find many important artifacts of these people in archaeological museums, such as Troya, such as examples of Troya, or Çatalhöyük, or Göbekli Tepe, so you can find the symbols and the reliefs or sculptures, etc.
And that's why they think art has the power to create awareness through imagination. Esra Dürüst, TRT World.
Adele won the top 3 prizes at the Brit Awards earlier this week in the first genderless edition of Britain's annual pop music honors.
Adele! Adele! Adele! Say!
Congratulations to Adele, bagging the biggest award of the night with her album 30.
dedicate this award to my son. And to Simon, to his dad. This album was all of our journey, not just mine.
Sending alone conversations with a stranger.
Woman to woman, I just wanna see you glow. Tell her
I am living proof that if you work hard at something, no matter where you come from, no matter your background, no matter your race, you can do something extraordinary. So this is for all the kids dreaming.
Thank you guys so much. I am so honored and feel so lucky to be awarded this again.
congratulations to Adele.
I understand why the name of this award has changed, but I really love being a woman and being a female artist. I do. And I'm really proud of us. I really, really am. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hollywood's iconic visual effects pioneer Douglas Trumbull has died. Trumbull was one of the masterminds behind the visual effects on films like 2001: A Space Odyssey, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and Blade Runner. He was 79. The Berlin Film Festival has opened its 72nd edition. 18 movies will be competing for the Silver and Golden Bears this year. Live screenings will resume after last year's online-only event. Strict COVID-19 protocols have been put in place. Seating in cinemas has been reduced by 50%, and there will be no official parties. Futurama is coming back next year after nearly a decade hiatus. Hulu has ordered 20 new episodes, and many of the original voice actors are returning, including the series creators. This is the third platform to host the show after Fox and Comedy Central. Snoop Dogg has acquired Death Row Records, the label that launched his career. He says he aims to revive the fledgling company. The once powerhouse label started its decline after the death of Tupac Shakur and the jailing of its president Suge Knight. Since then, it's filed for bankruptcy and changed owners multiple times. Drive My Car received a record number of Oscar nominations for Japan. But can it also become a hit at US multiplexes? Ali John has the story.
Yusuke is a stage director who's grieving over the death of his wife. Years later, he's offered to direct a theater production in Hiroshima. That's when he meets his chauffeur, a kindred spirit named Mizaki, and together, the two develop a friendship. This movie trope is at the moment the talk of Hollywood. It received 4 Oscar nods, more than any Japanese film. It's also the first time a Japanese feature is nominated for Best Picture. Now, this is hardly the first time a Japanese production found popularity in the US. Art house auteur Akira Kurosawa, grindhouse great Kinji Fukasaku, and Godzilla director Ishiro Honda all found a niche spot in the American movie-going psyche. But Japanese films have found more success at the US box office when they're remade. And that's why Drive My Car is so special. It may finally break the mold. Critics describe it as an engrossing piece of art that is also thoughtful at handling human drama. Reviews point out that due to the film's poetic style, it captivates viewers to the point of choking back tears. while Drive My Car has only grossed $3 million at the box office so far. If it becomes a hit at the Oscars, it could mean the Japanese might finally get a bigger slice of the US market.
Ben Stiller tends to do comedies, whether he's acting or directing, but now he's taking on a new genre with his latest series, Severance.
Apple TV's new sci-fi thriller Severance follows Mark. He leads a team at a tech firm where employees' brains are altered so that their work and personal lives are separated. This means Office Mark has no idea about the other Mark, and vice versa. But then one thing leads to another, and the truth begins to unravel.
My work life and my personal life.
The series' co-director is Ben Stiller. It's a far cry from the comedies he's directed over the years. But he says he just couldn't resist a good story.
I just thought it was an amazing script. I thought it was weird and funny and strange and very specific and evocative of a very unique world that was so well articulated. So it was not even a question for me when I read it. I thought, this is great. This is the kind of thing I'd love to see. It's the kind of thing I'd love to do as a director. And then it took a few years actually to get it off the ground.
Stiller has explored other genres too in the past. In 2018, he directed biodrama Escape at Dannemora, another series he chose not to be in as an actor.
For once in our lives,
I confer upon you the...
But although he's not in front of the camera in Severance, he did want to see a fellow comedian as the lead. For him, Adam Scott was the perfect actor to play Mark.
Adam is an amazing actor who can basically bridge different tones very easily, and this has a very specific rhythm to it, the dialogue in the show, that I think a lot of it is based in a certain sort of office comedy genre that Adam has perfected, and here was an opportunity to take that and sort of really kind of build on that and create something new and different that I just felt he uniquely was qualified to do.
And so far, critics seem to be happy with the result. Eric Francisco called it an enthralling must-see sci-fi that remarkably redefines the workplace drama.
What is it we actually do here?
And Will Ashton praised it for its smart, sophisticated direction and sharp performances.
do you know how to make your eyes kind?
It's not clear yet if Severance will get a second season. But since Stiller says he'd love to make a Mystery Man sequel, it seems he won't stay away from comedy that long.
I don't find you threatening at all.
The world is filling up with plastic waste, and an art installation called Earth Poetica argues that we're all going to drown in this mess if we don't do something fast.
That looks unpleasant, right? Well, how about that? Beverly Barkat has created this giant globe made of plastic waste. Earth Poetica. The plastic planet is sadly too close to the real thing.
Earth Poetica started from a documentary film that I saw of children, very young children, collecting garbage, plastic garbage from their beaches where they live. And the whole beach was full of plastic waste that had come from the sea and come from dumping. And I said to myself, is this the heritage we're leaving our children?
To build the massive sphere, Barkat used rubbish that people helped her collect from many countries. The installation is currently at the Gottsman Family Israel Aquarium in Jerusalem and will eventually begin its journey around our real garbage-ridden world.
I created the sphere, meaning to create the world, from plastic waste. So the project itself is 4 meters in diameter. It's got 18 slices that create a sphere, and each slice is built from 10 different pieces. coming together to be the world.
Barkat wants people to internalise the issue, especially when they look closely at the interior design. The plastic planet may look beautiful from the outside, but it's also full of trash.
In the future, if we don't change the way we make decisions or the way we behave with the world, this is what we're going to be. This is how we are going to look.
In brief, Earth Poetica is calling on people to shoulder responsibility, to be aware of the crisis, and to do something about it.
That's it on this episode of Showcase. Our YouTube channel, Instagram, and Twitter accounts have more from the world of arts and culture. I'm Natasha Hussain. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.